All right, so this I'm calling the Whitman Walk. It's in Philadelphia, and last weekend I was there with my friend Nick, and we walked from where we were staying up here in Brewerytown. We walked down to the Walt Whitman statue, which is sort of on the entranceway to the Whitman Bridge. And then we turned back, headed up to the waterfront. We took the ferry over to Camden, walked along, and ended up in the Harley Cemetery, which is where Whitman's tomb is. We stopped along the way. Whitman's house is in Camden. And we took the ferry. We took the ferry across the river, which was kind of an inspired moment because I've been reading and thinking about Whitman's poem Crossing Brooklyn Ferry. And part of this walk was to give a physical framework, a physiognomy of that poem and the music I want to write along with it. Nick and I have taken walks like this we were trying to figure it out, maybe 20 years, maybe a bit longer. Psychogeographic walks, the destination is often dictated by some poetic or philosophical objective. We were trying to figure it out. We think maybe we've done it 50 times. A walk where, 8 to 10 to 15 miles, where the derive, where the objective of the walk is some kind of inspiration, some kind of pattern or idea that we're getting into, and then we walk and we talk and scour our spirits with that walk. So this is the Whitman Walk. 50 we based on, the last 5 years or so. Maybe we're out there once, maybe twice a year. But earlier, this was something we would do 3, 4, 5 times a year. Every other month, we would be out. So 50 sounds like a pretty good estimate. This map isn't super accurate because I didn't turn on my tracking for the first couple miles. At the end of it, I think it was about a 14-mile total walk that we did. We left about 9 o'clock in the morning from here, and it was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon when we got here. So I've got a bunch of photos I'm just going to talk through. I checked with Nick. He's okay with me showing his handsome face. So here we are. This is on Friday. We took the train out from Pittsburgh to Philadelphia, and then the Philadelphia station to where we were staying was about a 2-mile walk along the Schuylkill, the river in Philadelphia. But you can't actually see here. That river is down here. This is the Delaware. And the Schuylkill is over on this side over here. But here we are. The train leaves Pittsburgh at 7:30 in the morning and arrives at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. There's talk of Amtrak turning it into a twice daily service. It was certainly full, the ride out. It'd be great if it happened even 3 times a day and only took 3 hours instead of whatever that is, 7 hours. Right? I would schedule so you could arrive 7 a.m., noon, and then leave. Right? Book it on a work day. You should be able to arrive before 7 and leave right after 5, and then have a midday slow train that stopped everywhere. Okay, this is Saturday morning, and we are out in the sunshine. It was a beautiful weekend, and just took pictures along the way. This is Joan of Arc. We're right by the art museum. which is the bit here that's not really reflected in the map. Joan of Arc. Okay, so my daughter happens to live in an apartment building. The art museum's, over here. And I had called her on FaceTime to let her know that we were approaching. She could see us from her window. There we are. Yeah, there we are. There I am pointing. A lot of statues. A lot of statues in Philadelphia. Philadelphia's a lot bigger than Pittsburgh, which I forget because Pittsburgh's an awesome town. But even if you include the suburbs of Pittsburgh, and I mean really like the big suburbs, you're up to about 1 million people. About 300,000 live within the actual city limits where I live. I think Philadelphia's 10 times that big. When we're on the river, you can see like a couple of blocks of Philadelphia that clearly looks as big as downtown Pittsburgh. And it's just a fraction of it. Just some statues. This is called the Tuscan. Oops, a little bit out of order there. Okay. So this down, I'm going to keep jumping back to this map, right? So this bit going down, it's basically on 16th Street, all the way down, which again, you can't do in Pittsburgh. It's like 3 miles straight down with about 5 feet of elevation change. That's not how Pittsburgh works, right? Pittsburgh has a lot of hills and curves. I took this picture, I think, because I wanted to go on Zillow and see how much the row houses cost you. It's basically one set of row houses for 4 miles, just shooting right out of Center City. This was just funny. We were walking by, and it's such a eloquent and well-constructed note that I had to walk back. I didn't want to stand there and read it, but I took a picture. So this dude, a person, hit 2 cars while parking. The car in the front and the car behind, leaving damage reported to the police, and it's on the dash cam. So I guess I'm on the dash cam as well, right? Walking by and then turning around and taking a picture. Here we are. So now we've made it to the Whitman's statue. It's a pretty awesome statue, and it's right by there's a big bridge crossing over the Delaware into New Jersey from Philadelphia, and it's the Walt Whitman Bridge, so there's a statue. Here we are, having made it. Probably 5 or 6 miles. There I am. I wonder why it's showing up like that. Hang on a second. Well, Marconi, another statue. Now we've made the pivot up, and we're actually starting to get a little bit tired at this point. And this was a nice park to walk through. It took us from 16th Dogleg over to 13th. This little bit here, and then we just kept walking up 13th. Tasker Street. I took this picture because you can see I didn't actually take the right picture because we were walking along and we realized, oh, the city hasn't taken down any of the Christmas decorations yet, right? Like this entire block has these kind of Christmas decorations over. And then we realized that everybody's house still had Christmas decorations up. We found out later that this is a thing for this block. First, they go absolutely bonkers at Christmas. This entire block is probably visible from space. It's so lit up. We saw some pictures. But they just leave the decorations up all year. It was very unsettling. Well, it wasn't unsettling. It was quite wonderful, really. But it was one of the stranger things I've seen. The Philly Game Shop, we were going to stop in and see if we could buy a portable Go set. They didn't have one. In fact, the guy looked like he'd never heard of the game of Go, but here's a nice picture of the inside of the store. Another statue, the Irish statue commemoration, leaving, I guess, the potato famine. and then coming to America. Here we are, passenger ferry to Camden. We got twisted up a couple of times with the directions, but at every point, meaningful point, we were exactly where we needed to be. We found the statue, even though we had zigged and zagged a bit unintentionally, and then right here, passenger ferry to Camden, which we missed by about. I mean, we actually saw it. We saw it pulling out from here, and if we'd maybe not taken that photo of Marconi, we would have gotten on that. So we had an hour wait. The ferry leaves every hour, which was fine. We drank some water, and I read a few paragraphs of crossing Brooklyn Ferry. And unbeknownst to me, while I was doing that, Nick took this picture. The USS New Jersey, which a friend of mine at work is into that ship, and totally by happenstance, the last 2 weekends in a row, I've been in Philadelphia and seen it. This is the ferry coming in. It crosses over. It does a big loop, actually. It goes out to the left, crosses, comes in from the right, parks over here, and then goes down to the left, crosses and comes back in. Here we are. We've boarded and are waiting. This I took because this boat here, this schooner, boat, the Shomula, is actually a restaurant. And we ate there last weekend. We went out for my daughter's graduation. She graduated from Penn. And we went out for dinner there. And then the very next weekend, here we are. What's going on here? Well, it's kind of I didn't do that arrangement, but there we are. No wake zone. We should actually call it the no sleep zone, right? You got to wake up. If you're following this channel, you know what that means. So not the no wake zone. We want the wake up zone, the pay attention zone. Again, look at us, chuckleheads. Out on the water. It was actually quite cold on the water. Temperature was in the 70s. It was nice. It was sunny, but also you can see clouds. So it was shifted. It never got too warm, but it was 20 degrees colder on the water. It was actually quite chilly. Here we are. And now in Camden. I took a picture that suggested how big Philadelphia is. I mean, basically this section here, these 3 buildings, are as big as downtown Pittsburgh. Just some... Okay, the Delaware is a big river. I checked it. It's navigable up until Trenton. It's about 30 miles upriver from here, but it continues up 100 miles. It's a long river as well as a big one. Camden, very evocative. At least I was trying to make it evocative. The Camden Water Tower underneath the whatever bridge that is. JFK Memorial, maybe? American water. There's something very iconic about that image. Trying to be a bit arty here, capture the plane and the boat. There's the USS New Jersey from the water. While we were there, the guns on the side, not these big ones, were shooting off, I guess, hopefully blanks, right? Smoke and noise. This is not the Walt Whitman house. I was looking and thinking, geez, that's a bit disappointing, isn't it? This is the Walt Whitman house. It's just someone's house. And I think they kindly enough give tours if you call ahead. This is the hospital next to the cemetery. And there's an enormous statue of Our Lady of Lourdes. The whole hospital was getting redone. It's quite a magnificent building. And we joked as we were coming along that this was the cemetery. It was now the Walt Whitman Memorial parking lot. There we go. The tomb itself. There's his crypt. Here we are in front of the tomb. (19 to 90). So how old was he? 73. Is that right? Yep. So that's 15 years older than I am right now. Nick was having hat questions, and I said, anyone can wear a hat. And he was like, well, I gotta wear your hat. He said, well, try it. And he looks great with it on, but he wasn't convinced. Nope. Yep. And here we are on the train back in Philadelphia, about ready to leave to go back to Pittsburgh. Train leaves Philadelphia at 12:30 in the afternoon. Starts in New York, comes down, stops in Philadelphia. We all get on, and then it gets into Pittsburgh. We were delayed a bit. We got in about 8:30. Man, the SL is awesome, isn't it? I just took a bunch of train pictures. Trains are vehicles of the imagination for me. And in traditional Tibetan Buddhism, I talk about wind horse energy, the horse. But I have had dreams throughout my life where I'm on a train and the train is moving me through the dream. They're not frequent dreams, but they have been consistent. I love train rides. There's something about the pace of it, whether it's fast or slow. And, that's it. I had a video of the Altoona curve, right, or the horseshoe curve in Altoona, which I think this is maybe a picture of the other side of it. You come and you go around, and it's an engineering marvel to make it around and that. And every time you take this trip, when you go through it in other directions, the conductor will get on the PA and talk about the history of it. It was, of course, very important during the war, to the point where they had armed guards, National Guard, on the horseshoe curve to make sure that there could be no enemy action taken against it. So that's the trip. Let me skip back to Whitman and just read the first paragraph, the first stanza of Crossing Brooklyn Ferry. Flood tide below me, I see you face to face. Clouds of the west, sun there, half an hour. I see you also face to face. Crowds of men and women attired in the usual costumes. How curious you are to me. On the ferry boats, the hundreds and hundreds that cross, returning home, are more curious to me than you suppose. And you that shall cross from shore to shore years hence are more to me, and more in my meditations than you might suppose. This whole poem is an evocation, but more than an evocation. It's a representation of the timeless nature of our experience, right? So Whitman was writing this in Brooklyn 150 years ago. I was reading it in Camden 3 days ago. And it's not just a memory or an imagination. In this poem, he isn't just describing the affect and the effect and the impact. He is moving with the reading of the poem. And so are we. Like, I am always struck when I read this poem that there's a sense of looking into the distance of the time and space. It's referenced in the poem. Stanza 5. What is it then between us? What is the count of the scores or hundreds of years between us? Whatever it is, it avails not. Distance avails not, and place avails not. I too lived. Brooklyn of ample hills was mine. I too walked in the streets of Manhattan Island and bathed in the waters around it. Not something we would do today. I too felt the curious, abrupt questionings stir within me. In the day, among crowds of people, sometimes they came upon me. I too had been struck from the float forever held in solution. The float on the river, the float, and then we sort of get disembodied, a step outside time. I too had received identity by my body. That I was, I knew, was of my body, and what I should be, I knew I should be of my body. So the poem is a wonderful evocation of the place and the time and the person and us. But more than that, it's an evocation of the sensation of looking across time, looking into time, looking through time. It's a beautiful poem. It's a poem about the experience of timelessness, the lessness of time, the step away from time, the step outside of time, the event horizon that narrows our constrained perception that can be released through the aesthetic object, through the psychogeographic walk. So, with that, let me know if you have any questions or comments. If you like this video, share it with one person, and we'll go from there. Keep your wits about you.